Have you ever noticed how certain people disappear from your life when you begin to set clear boundaries? Have you wondered why some relationships fade away just as you start valuing yourself more? It's not a coincidence. It's the power of your clean energy manifesting itself. Imagine for a moment that you're in front of a mirror, looking directly into your eyes, and you ask yourself with complete honesty, am I living the life I truly want to live? Not the life others expect of me, not the one that seems right according to social standards, but the one that deeply resonates with my soul. This simple yet powerful question could be the beginning of a transformation that Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant psychologists of all time, considered essential to achieving fulfillment. Jung discovered something that few dare to acknowledge. When your energy is clean, when you're aligned with your true self, you automatically push away those who don't value you. This isn't an act of rejection toward others, but a natural consequence of honoring your essence. Today's world functions like a machine designed to keep you distracted, trapped in routines you don't question, fulfilling expectations you never chose. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when you really wanted to say no? How many decisions have you made to please others, sacrificing your own well-being? Every time you choose others over yourself, you're sending a devastating message to your inner being that you're not important enough. Jung deeply understood that our connection with the unconscious isn't optional. It's a fundamental part of who we are. That discomfort you feel when something isn't right in your life isn't a coincidence. It's your soul trying to communicate with you, showing you that there's a necessary change you must make, even if taking that step scares you. Pause for a moment and reflect on the important decisions you've recently made. How many of them genuinely came from within you? And how many were driven by fear, by the need for approval, or simply by not wanting to inconvenience others? Jung invites us to examine this carefully because he recognized a fundamental truth. Decisions that don't stem from your authenticity only generate more chaos and disconnection in your existence. But here's the part that many misinterpret. Choosing yourself doesn't mean becoming selfish or insensitive to the needs of others. Jung emphasized that it's precisely the opposite. To give your best to those you love, you must first be at peace with yourself. This is the essential principle of self-love that Jung explored throughout his work. Self-love isn't a luxury or an excuse to evade responsibilities. It's the foundation upon which all your truly meaningful relationships can flourish. Have you noticed that when you start valuing yourself, when you establish clear boundaries and begin to honor your needs, some people seem to get upset with you? It's as if your personal growth makes them uncomfortable or threatened. This reaction isn't about you. It's a reflection of their own insecurities and fears. As Jung pointed out, people who feel threatened by your evolution are those who benefited from your previous pattern of behavior. When you decide to prioritize yourself, something extraordinary happens in your energy field. You begin to attract circumstances and people who are in tune with your essence. It's as if the universe responds to your decision to live authentically, removing from your path what no longer serves you and attracting what you truly need to evolve. However, to reach this point, you must first confront what Jung called the shadow. Those parts of yourself that you've denied, repressed, or feared. The shadow, according to Jung, contains all those aspects of our psyche that we prefer not to see. They are our deepest fears, our repressed impulses, our unhealed wounds. And although facing them can be deeply uncomfortable, it's precisely in this confrontation where true transformation begins. Because when you integrate your shadows, when you stop fighting against them and learn to recognize them as valuable parts of you, you discover an inner power that you never imagined possessing. Have you wondered why some people seem to become uncomfortable when you start establishing healthy boundaries? Why some relationships deteriorate when you begin to value yourself more? Jung gave us the answer. Your clean and aligned energy naturally repels those who benefited from your misalignment. This process of integration and alignment doesn't happen overnight. It requires courage, patience, and an unwavering determination to know yourself in all your dimensions. But what you gain in return is invaluable. mental clarity, defined purpose, and an inner peace that no one can take away from you. You gain the ability to say no without feeling guilty, to establish boundaries without fear of rejection, and above all, to live with the freedom to be who you truly are. Perhaps you wonder how to start this path of transformation. The answer is simpler than it seems, although no less challenging. Begin by listening to yourself. Every time you feel discomfort, resistance, or even an intense emotion, stop and ask yourself what your unconscious is trying to communicate. Jung affirmed that all the answers we seek outside already reside within us. We only need the courage to listen to them and the determination to act accordingly. One of the bravest actions we can take in life is to listen to our intuition, especially when it guides us in a direction that challenges what we've built so far. Perhaps it's a relationship that deep down you know no longer works, a job that consumes you without giving you meaning, or even a dream you've pursued only because it seemed right according to external standards. Jung reminds us that ignoring these intuitive signals isn't an act of strength, but a denial of our true nature. Choosing yourself means having the courage to let go of what no longer resonates with your essence. This is rarely easy. We often cling to the familiar no matter how harmful it may be, because change frightens us. We convince ourselves that it's preferable to remain in the familiar, even if it causes us pain, than to risk the unknown. But Jung challenges us to see change not as a threatening end, but as a portal to a more authentic and fulfilled version of ourselves. Think about it carefully. What are you keeping in your life that no longer nourishes you? What relationships, beliefs, or habits have you maintained out of fear of releasing them? Perhaps you feel that letting go of certain people or situations would represent an irreparable loss. But the true loss occurs when you sacrifice your inner peace to maintain something that has lost its meaning. Jung taught us that choosing yourself isn't an act of selfishness, but the deepest expression of love and respect for who you truly are. When you finally choose yourself, when you decide to honor your energy and keep it clean from toxic influences, something that might seem magical happens. You begin to perceive with clarity what previously remained hidden or confused. People who genuinely support you remain by your side, while those who drained your vitality gradually move away. Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, that mysterious connection between your inner and outer worlds that aligns everything when you decide to live in coherence with your essential truth. This process also requires relentless honesty with yourself. Sometimes, choosing yourself means recognizing that you've made decisions that don't reflect your authentic self. Perhaps you've allowed certain people to cross your boundaries, or you've accepted situations you knew you should reject. Jung taught us that these recognitions aren't cause for destructive self-criticism, but valuable opportunities for learning, for readjusting your course, and for choosing again, this time from a place of greater awareness. Jung understood that authenticity isn't a destination you reach once and for all. It's a continuous journey, an ongoing process of discovery and growth. And on that path, you'll inevitably encounter resistance, both internal and external. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when you feel the temptation to return to old patterns simply because they're familiar and comfortable. But it's precisely in those moments of doubt when you must remember that true growth always occurs outside your comfort zone. The world won't always understand your decision to choose yourself. There will be those who criticize you, who question your choices, and even those who distance themselves because you no longer fit their expectations or projections. This can be painful, but it's also deeply liberating. Because when you choose yourself, you stop depending on external validation. You understand, as Jung taught, that your value isn't determined by the opinion of others, but by the authentic connection with yourself. This doesn't mean you should isolate yourself or disconnect from others. On the contrary, Jung emphasized that when you choose yourself, your relationships fundamentally transform. You no longer desperately seek approval, but genuine connection. You no longer settle for superficial bonds, but naturally gravitate toward relationships that nourish your spirit. And in this process, you discover that the right people will always remain in your life, not because they need you from a place of lack, but because they value you as you are. When you begin to live from your authenticity, the environment around you experiences a remarkable transformation. This isn't mysticism or a supernatural phenomenon. It's the concrete manifestation of what Jung called the profound interconnection between our inner and outer worlds. Jung explained how our psyche projects into the environment everything we carry within. If you live in internal conflict, you'll inevitably attract external conflicts. If you reject yourself, you'll experience rejection. But if you choose yourself, if you accept yourself unconditionally, you'll begin to notice how the circumstances and people around you also transform. This transformation isn't instantaneous. It's a gradual process that requires patience and sustained commitment. There will be days when you feel you're going backward, moments when old patterns will try to reinstall themselves. But here lies the true challenge. In your ability to remain firm, in your decision to choose yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you feel alone on that path. Your decision to honor your energy and keep it clean won't always be understood by those around you. We live in a society that exalts personal sacrifice, giving everything for others, even at the expense of our well-being. But Jung taught us a fundamental truth. We cannot genuinely offer what we don't possess. If you constantly sacrifice your happiness, your energy, or your inner peace to please others, what you're giving lacks authenticity, and sooner or later, that imbalance will manifest in all your relationships. Examine your current relationships with sincerity. How many make you feel inspired, motivated, at peace? And how many leave you exhausted, confused, or with a feeling of emptiness? Jung invites us to contemplate this because our relationships aren't simple social connections. They're mirrors that reflect our inner state. The people we choose to keep close reflect the beliefs and values we harbor internally. If you repeatedly allow someone to violate your boundaries, it's not because that person is inherently negative, but because there's a part of you that hasn't yet learned to protect itself adequately. Protecting your energy isn't a selfish act. It's an expression of the most genuine self-love. Jung firmly believed that the unconscious constantly works to guide us toward our integral well-being, but we frequently ignore its indications. That feeling of exhaustion you experience after interacting with certain people isn't casual or insignificant. It's your unconscious communicating that that bond isn't aligned with your essence. And if you choose to disregard that signal, the price will invariably be your inner balance. Choosing yourself necessarily implies establishing clear boundaries. And contrary to what many believe, boundaries aren't walls we build to keep people away, but bridges that enable more authentic and healthy relationships. When you say no to what doesn't nourish you, you're affirming a resounding yes to your truth, your aspirations, and your integral well-being. This doesn't mean you should cut ties indiscriminately, but that you need to be honest with yourself about which relationships enrich you and which drain you energetically. As you begin to live from this radical authenticity, something extraordinary happens. Your intuition strengthens significantly. That inner voice that previously seemed weak or indistinct begins to guide you with greater clarity and precision. You start making decisions that not only make rational sense, but also deeply resonate with your being. This is the transformative power of choosing yourself. It reconnects you with your intuition, with that inner compass that has always been present, patiently waiting for you to trust it. Intuition, as Jung explained, represents one of the purest forms of connection with the collective unconscious. It's that immediate sensation you experience when something simply feels right or doesn't fit. But to hear it clearly, you need to quiet the external noise that constantly competes for your attention. This implies detaching yourself from the compulsive search for approval, disconnecting from limiting social expectations, and learning to trust deeply in your inner wisdom. Because ultimately, no one else can determine what's right for you. When you decide to choose yourself without reservations, you're sending an unequivocal message to the universe. I'm ready to live from my essential truth. And the universe responds to this declaration of intentions. You begin to attract people, opportunities, and experiences that are in perfect harmony with who you truly are. This doesn't mean your life will be exempt from challenges or that everything will be perfect, but those challenges will no longer be experienced as a perpetual struggle against the current. Instead, they'll transform into valuable opportunities for your growth and inner strengthening. By deciding to live from your deepest authenticity, you also begin to experience what Carl Jung called synchronicity. Those seemingly casual events that perfectly fit into your life are a tangible manifestation of your internal alignment. When you choose yourself and decide to honor your truth without concessions, the universe seems to conspire in your favor. The right opportunities arrive at the precise moment, kindred people appear in your path, and everything begins to flow with a naturalness that previously seemed unattainable. However, it's important to recognize that this path isn't free of obstacles. In fact, frequently, the greatest challenges emerge precisely when you decide to choose yourself with determination. It's as if the world, accustomed to the compliant version of you, tried to test your commitment to this new vital direction. Here lies your true power. Because every time you reaffirm your decision, every time you prioritize your inner peace over external demands, you're strengthening that indestructible connection with your authentic self. The key is to remain firm, even when doubts and uncertainties appear. It's completely normal to experience fear when abandoning the familiar, even when you recognize it no longer nourishes you. But remember this fundamental truth. Every time you choose to remain in an environment that doesn't make you happy, you're closing the door to potentially transformative experiences. Jung taught us that genuine change never occurs without resistance, but that resistance doesn't indicate you're wrong, but that you're moving in the right direction. One of the most effective strategies to overcome this resistance is to reflect deeply on what you truly value in life. What represents the most important thing for you? What kind of existence do you aspire to build? When you have absolute clarity regarding your essential values and vital goals, it becomes considerably easier to make decisions aligned with them. And by doing so, you naturally begin to attract people and circumstances that share that same energetic frequency. It's fundamental to remember that you're not alone on this journey of self-discovery. Although choosing yourself may initially seem like a solitary act, in reality, you're paving a path that will inevitably attract the right people. Those who will provide genuine support, who will celebrate your achievements without envy, and who will be willing to accompany you in your evolution. These people won't need you to transform to fit their expectations. They'll accept you exactly as you are because they too have chosen to live from their most authentic truth. When you reach this level of consciousness, something within you transforms irreversibly. Life is no longer perceived as a constant battle against external forces. Decisions that previously seemed overwhelming are now made with clarity and unwavering confidence. And most significantly, you discover a sense of inner peace that doesn't depend on fluctuating external circumstances. Because as Jung masterfully taught us, true peace can only emanate from within. That inner peace is the natural result of honoring your authentic needs, respecting your personal boundaries, and living in perfect coherence with your deepest values. But it also constitutes a precious gift that you can generously share with the world. When you live from your authenticity without compromises, you inevitably inspire others to do the same. Your courage becomes a bright beacon for those who are seeking their own path. And in this transformative process, you not only revolutionize your own existence, but you also profoundly impact those around you in ways you can't even imagine. Stop for a moment and visualize what your life would be like if you could release everything that no longer serves you. How would you feel if you definitively abandoned the relationships that drain your vitality, the commitments that don't resonate with your essence, and the expectations you never consciously chose? Imagine the absolute freedom, the lightness of spirit, and the mental clarity you would experience. This isn't an unattainable fantasy. It's a tangible possibility that's within your immediate reach if you decide to choose yourself without reservations. When you make this transformative decision, you begin to understand that you're not losing anything valuable by letting go of what no longer resonates with your being. On the contrary, You're creating vital space for what truly matters. You're consciously building an existence that not only has deep meaning, but also fills you with purpose and genuine joy. This is the invaluable gift that Jung wanted all of us to discover, that true transformation begins when we stop looking outside for what has always resided within us. This feeling of inner freedom is incomparable. It's as if an overwhelming weight were lifted from your shoulders, allowing you to breathe fully, perhaps for the first time in many years. However, achieving this freedom demands unwavering courage. It requires you to confront not only limiting external expectations, but also your own fears, doubts, and restrictive beliefs. Jung constantly reminded us that the most formidable adversary isn't found outside, but within us. It's that critical inner voice that whispers, "What if I'm not enough? What if I fail miserably?" But here lies a liberating truth. That voice doesn't represent your authentic essence. It's simply an echo of past experiences, of conditioning accumulated throughout your life. Every time you choose to confront it directly, every time you act despite fear, you're systematically dismantling those limiting beliefs and generating space for something completely new. This is the true transformative power of choosing yourself. You definitely free yourself from the invisible chains that have kept you captive. As you advance on this path of self-discovery, you begin to perceive a fascinating phenomenon. Things that previously seemed crucial, those that disproportionately consumed your time and energy, begin to lose their dominion over you. You no longer feel the compulsive need to compete, to constantly prove your worth, or to indiscriminately please others. Instead, you discover a deep satisfaction in the simple act of being authentically yourself. And it's precisely in this state of radical authenticity where you find your true personal power. This power doesn't consist of controlling others or imposing your will. It's a power that naturally emanates from the connection with your inner being, with that dimension of you that has always known who you really are and what you genuinely need. It's a silent but absolutely invincible power, because when you're perfectly aligned with yourself, nothing and no one can permanently divert you from your evolutionary path. The beauty of this transformative process lies in that it not only revolutionizes your own existence, but also that of those around you. When you choose yourself without reservations, you become a living example of what it means to be genuinely authentic. You inspire others to question their own limiting beliefs, to challenge their paralyzing fears, and to choose their essential truth. You don't need to preach or convince anyone. Simply by being yourself in all your magnificence, you're generating a transcendental impact. This is something that Carl Jung understood with extraordinary depth. He knew that individual transformation inevitably generates a domino effect, that every time a person chooses themselves, they're significantly contributing to a collective transformation. Because when we live from our authenticity without compromises, our relationships, communities, and even the entire world experiences a profound metamorphosis. But don't deceive yourself. This transformative journey isn't linear or predictable. There will be days when you'll feel invincible and absolutely sure, and others when you'll question every aspect of your life. Those moments of doubt form an integral part of the process, and Jung perceived them as invaluable opportunities to deepen your connection with yourself. Each challenge, each apparent setback, constitutes a precious invitation to reflect, learn, and expand your consciousness. The fundamental thing is to constantly remember that you're not alone on this journey. Although the path to authenticity may initially seem solitary, you'll always find people, resources, and experiences that will decisively support you. Maybe it's a transformative book, a revealing conversation, or even a video like this that reaches you precisely at the moment when you need it most. These aren't fortuitous coincidences, they're manifestations that you're moving in the right direction. When you retrospectively contemplate everything you've overcome, you understand that each step, each decision, has led you exactly to this present moment. And although the future may seem uncertain, there's something that will remain immutable. As long as you continue choosing yourself, you'll be consciously building a life that truly deserves to be lived in fullness. The most valuable gift you can grant yourself is the permission to be authentically yourself. Not the version of you that others expect, nor the one you fabricated to fit in socially, but your purest essence, the one that exists when no one is watching. Carl Jung showed us with meridian clarity that life's true purpose doesn't consist of seeking answers externally, but in unraveling the mystery we carry within. And when you finally choose yourself without reservations, you understand that everything you were tirelessly seeking has always been within you, patiently waiting to be discovered. This is a call to immediate action. Life is too short and precious to live trapped in the insatiable search for external approval, to systematically ignore your own needs and aspirations. Today is the perfect moment to take the first step, to bravely face your shadows. Listen carefully to your intuition and deeply reconnect with your authentic self. Because when you choose yourself unconditionally, you not only radically transform yourself, but you also contribute to the evolution of the world around you. What's next on your path? This is the ideal moment to honestly reflect on what you've heard. Ask yourself, which aspects of my current life are perfectly aligned with my essence? What do I need to release to live with greater authenticity? Remember that every small step counts significantly, and you're not alone on this transformative journey. This channel, this space of growth, exists precisely to constantly remind you of your infinite potential and to lovingly accompany you in your personal evolution. If this message has deeply resonated within you, allow it to transcend beyond yourself. Share this video with someone who might benefit from its content, someone who's going through a challenging moment, or seeking answers to their existential questions. Each interaction, each comment, each like contributes to this transformative message, reaching more people who need it. Imagine the revolutionary impact we could generate together as a community committed to living from the most radical authenticity. I cordially invite you to share your experience in the comments. Tell me which specific aspect of this message touched your heart, or how you plan to consciously choose yourself from this moment on. Every word you share has an incalculable value, not only for me, but for all those who are traveling their own path toward inner truth. And if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to this channel and activate notifications so you don't miss future transformative messages. Together we can expand this vital reflection to every corner of the planet, reaching every person who needs to remember that their true power resides in the decision to be authentically who they are. Thank you from the deepest part of my heart for being here, for listening attentively, and above all for being an active part of this evolutionary community. Always remember, you're not alone on this path. Transformation inevitably begins with you, and the world urgently needs more people who possess the unwavering courage to be authentically themselves. We'll meet again in the next video. And never forget this fundamental truth: your life truly begins at the precise instant when you decide to choose yourself unconditionally.